Now, if you lived in Japan during the 80s and 90s and wanted to buy a performance car, you'd have to settle for one with only 276 horsepower and was factory limited to 180 kilometers on the speedo. And that wasn't enough for some people, which gave rise to the era of tuner cars. Think about the legendary cars of that time, such as the Nissan GTR like I have behind me, or the Toyota Supra. We all think of one thing, and that's the bulletproof engines they came with. These cars of that era were like Legos. They were meant to be built, every single one was customized, and it's meant to be tuned to monster power numbers, and that era was a golden era. Now in 2004, the horsepower limit and the speed limit were lifted, as, let's be real, none of the cars coming out at that time had actually had 276 horsepower, and cars started coming up with more horsepower numbers to keep up with the Europeans, to keep up with the Americans. And there we saw the rise of the R35 GTR, the WRX STIs, the Civic Type Rs, which all came 300 horsepower, 400 horsepower. The Nismo R35 actually had 600 horsepower. Especially the case with Subarus, the tunability and the bulletproof nature of these Japanese cars just wasn't there anymore. They were no longer these tanks that can take high PSIs of boost, and the mantle of the tuner king kind of went away, and it actually went to a different country. Since the turn of 2010, German cars have actually become the new tuner cars. When you look at potential power numbers versus what was on the spec sheet, there was no car on the planet that can come close. While Porsches were always over-engineered and designed to take much more power than they did stock, BMW, Merc and Audi caught up and started producing some cars that can take serious tuning. Like, look at the B58, look at the N54s, look at even the AMG 2-liter engines. Those cars are so over-engineered, and what's left on the table is crazy. You know, you're getting serious power figures out of these still fast and expensive cars, but the potential for them was through the roof. I mean, look at the new Supra. Toyota wanted to create a tuner car similar to the old one, and what did they use? The BMW B58. And if you've seen the numbers on some of those cars, it's pretty high. So Toyota did give us a golden age tuner car with some crazy styling and good driving dynamics. But as we all know, it's a BMW. Does this mean German cars are just generally more superior than all others and are much better engineered? No. While German cars are my favorite, close second is Japan. Japan is actually coming out with a resurgence in the tuner scene. Now, as you all know, Toyota have a smashing couple of years with bringing out the GR Yaris and the GR Corolla. Now, the Corolla comes out with 300 horsepower stock and weighs under 3,200 pounds, which is already monstrous. However, I'm excited to see the tunability of that car. I mean, look at the GR Yaris. Almost 500 horsepower on stock internals in a 3-cylinder. What? Like, are we seeing a resurgence in the tuner car era of Japanese cars? We have the R35, which already can take ridiculous amounts of tuning and can make power figures in the thousands. Now we're getting 500 horsepower out of a 3-cylinder. Now this reminds me of those times. It does give me good hope for the future as Japanese cars are coming out with some bangers. Now, I'm constantly torn between Japanese cars or German cars. Which one are my favorite? I don't know. It really depends on the car. But I want to hear from y'all. German or Jap? What y'all saying?